Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Real Deal Talk Studio with Epic 59 fighter interviews. But this next interview is one of the actual coaches of the fighters. Coach at Victory MMA, Mr. Aaron Peet. Welcome to the show, bro.
Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure. It's an honor. Because I remember first time around Epic 57 is when I started doing your guys' interview, or when I started doing Epic interviews for the fighters. I met you, and I said, we have to get you on because I didn't interview you. Yeah,
we had 4 fighters on that card, so
yeah,
that was in itself was a busy day for yourself.
For sure.
So by the time you got done with all my fighters, it was just there wasn't time for it, and I totally understood. And I'd already been here for like 2 hours, but you're amazing, you know. Studio you have here, I was enjoying all your amenities, and time flew by like that, and I was having a great time.
And speaking of amenities, he just missed his call time because he was out cold in one of our massage chairs in Real Deal Wellness, our wellness center.
I could sit in that massage chair for hours. Low-key, I heard someone say Aaron. I'm like, please tell me they're not calling me yet. I'm enjoying this chair too much.
I walked out there to go to the restroom, and I walked by him. He was done in the massage chair. Zero gravity, feet up high.
Zero gravity, feet up high, jaw down like this. I was trying to just make sure every now and then pay attention that I wasn't like snoring.
I thought we were going to have to bring the microphones out to the massage chair, and while he was, I was like, he ain't moving.
Hey, don't tease me with a good time. That'd be the perfect interview right there. You could keep me here for hours in that thing.
I love it, dude. Welcome to the show. Now, let's go. We've got 15 minutes to dissect Aaron Peet here. I don't even, there's too much here. Like you and I, this is a 1 to 2 hour interview for sure. Okay, let me break it down here. When did you start getting into fighting? Because I know you were fighting for a while yourself, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go back. When did it start? How old are you now, by the way?
I stopped counting like around 26. That was my favorite age. People always ask me that. I don't like getting into age too much. I believe age is a number, especially when you stay active, stay healthy, eat conscious, keep a positive mental attitude. Very big on PMA, and age is just a number. But I was born 1973.
73. So 11, you are 50. You're 51.
Yeah, I'm coming up.
Almost 51.
Yeah,
okay, so I'm 53. I got you, bro. And
see,
yes,
we're living proof. Age
let's
is
go.
Just a number.
I don't know about that. The whole age is a number thing. I don't believe in
Come
that.
on, we're like fine wine.
We are fine wine. Well, we're anomalies here. I will say that. But the bigger numbers, things are definitely getting a little bit more difficult to stay in shape, to be in shape. But yeah, no, I agree. I'm messing with you. Okay, 51 long years on the planet. Go back. When did you start fighting? What did you start doing? What kind of fighting? When did it begin?
Started training when I was a kid. My dad actually put me in C.A.M.O karate, and it's funny where we're at now in the new location, Victory MMA.
Yeah,
because we had fire at the Midway location, and so now we're just across the freeway,
right,
in that little shopping center, and where I started C.A.M.O karate when I was 7 years old.
No way.
Yeah, dead serious. In 1980, is in the same shopping center. Just down the way on the other side of that little golf place they have, was where I started in 1980.
No way.
But that was just karate and kung fu, or a little bit more spiritual. That's why they have katas, and it's not as much a direct fighting sport. It's not that you can't learn to fight from it. You can, but it's not a fighting sport like jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and boxing, or just let's go fight. So I started jiu-jitsu actually in 2006. Had my first fight in 2008, and started as just a grappler. Started in jiu-jitsu at the Gracie Baja Gym up in Del Mar under Marcelo Pereira. And then I moved down to San Diego in 2007 and started training at Undisputed under Barrett, and then started Muay Thai then under Cruz Scotty Dingus, rest in peace. So, and then the next year, 2008, I had my very first fight. They were having fight night. And on 3 days' notice, I was up at the front desk, and they were talking about, like, they'd lost, like, 3 or 4 fights, and they're like, what are we going to do? I'm like, we need to find someone to fight. We think this personal fight, think this is a personal fight. And that's when, like, back in the day, it was, like, War Machine and all those old fighters and everything like that. And I was just a jiu-jitsu guy. But I trained every day under Barrett. I was there all the time, and I just fell in love with it. So I'm standing there, they're talking about, you know, losing fights and needing people to fight. And all these big guys, they're like big and jacked like you.
Yeah.
And I'm just this, you know, skinny little grappler kid that would take everybody down, put them in a triangle. And I'm listening and I'm like thinking to myself, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. And they're like, wow. And I was like, I'll fight. It like these like 6, 7 big old fighters, Frankie Lester, War Machine, Copenhagen, everybody, they all look over their shoulder at me and they're like, and at first I'm thinking they're going to say like, nah, Aaron, he's not a fighter, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, Aaron, he'll be perfect. He'll just take someone down and submit him. Oh, he'll fight. He's going to fight. He's going to fight Eric. We'll put him against vegan Eric. And I was like, I'm in deep now. And they're like, yes, that's exactly what we need. You're fighting Saturday. And I was like, oh my goodness, what I get myself into. And so I took my first fight on 3 days notice in that fashion. And I had always known, you know, I grew up, it wasn't a terrible life. My father was a great person. My mother was a very, very loving mother. My parents separated when I was 4. My dad raised me, and so I spent a lot of time just kind of like raising myself.
Yep.
I learned, I wouldn't say I came from the streets or any hard luck story like that, but I got in a lot of trouble when I was a kid, and I did get in a lot of fights. So fighting to me wasn't something that was very daunting. I had done it way too many times, and not something that I'm proud of, but I had my share of scraps. And I always kind of like knew when the fight game started to blow up, because when I was younger, I played soccer. Then I got into skateboarding, which got me into a little bit more of a dangerous crowd, and I got in a lot of trouble with them. And then in 1992, I moved up to Boise, Idaho. And for me, because I've been going there to visit, my aunt moved there in 86. I went there in 87. Before that city, it was still very small. We're talking 70,000 people.
Right.
And I'd been going up there and spending time with her and everything. And it was, you know, it's Northwest, but, you know, that saying Southern hospitality.
Yeah.
Small town America has that everywhere you go.
Right.
And being born and raised, a 5th generation San Diegan, actually, you know, I was very shocked by it, how nice everybody was and courteous. Drive down the street, people you don't even know wave to you. Like, why is that person waving to me? Nobody in big cities really does that. Not very often, at least. And so I knew that my life wasn't going in the right direction. And in 1992, I moved up there and stayed with my aunt and tried to finish out my high school years and everything. And then in 1993, I got into playing rugby. And I played for Snake River Rugby Football Club for 8 years. And it's a very competitive team. We had 2 sides. We actually were the Division II 1996 national champions. Wow. Yeah, we won that in Chicago. It was North against South. We beat Tempe, Arizona. And so that really kind of reignited my athletic career, and it was a very disciplined team. We would go and play Portland. We'd go to play Montana, Seattle, Salt Lake City teams. So it was a traveling side. You had to be to practice 3 days a week, and, you know, there was starters and backups. There was 2 sides, and that got me into being an athlete again. And I moved back to San Diego in 2001. And when I moved back here at first, I just got back into playing soccer again. I played for a very competitive side, Arsenal FC. They were a semi-professional team. But that's when the fight game was starting to get really popular and blow up and turn the corner. And UFC was getting big, and then the Pride came along, and they were getting really big. And I'd had some people up in Boise tell me and plant the seed, like, dude, you're very athletic, you know, you're tough and fearless, you've got long limbs, you're perfect for jiu-jitsu. I'm like, what's jiu-jitsu? They showed me a video of you know, a jiu-jitsu fight, and they're like, this is exactly, you know, like you should get into this. And so the seed was always planted. It was always in the back of my mind. Yep. And then when soccer kind of toned down after playing for Arsenal for 5 years, I was still living in Encinitas, and then I found the Gracie gym in Del Mar, went and, you know, took a class, and I was just, I was in love since then. I was hooked since then. I'll never forget, the person who told me, like, you need to get into jiu-jitsu, they showed me, I don't know, do you ever seen that video? I believe it's Marco Huas, and was up in Utah, and he fights this big bodybuilder guy, and he takes him down, gets him in an arm bar, and almost breaks his arm. And lets go at the last second before he did. And ever since I saw that video, I just knew being a fighter was in my future. I wish I maybe started a little bit sooner back then. But so I started in 2006 at the Gracie gym, and then moved down to Undisputed. And Barrett Yoshida was a very famous name, one of the greatest grapplers on planet Earth.
Right.
And he was fighting back in Shuto, back in Japan when he was living in Hawaii. And so when I started training under him, you know, he nurtured that grappler in me, but he was still flying back and forth to Japan to fight for Shuto. And that kind of really ignited all of us that, yeah, we're grapplers, but we're fighters. We're gonna go fight. You know, we're gonna eventually, you know, morph into MMA fighters. And he trained us in a different style, not as much sport jiu-jitsu, but like, what are you gonna do if you have to use this in a street fight? Because that's where we all really started back then. Was like, man, to defend ourselves, to defend the ones we love, and to, you know, defend our name and have a sense of pride about it. And so Barrett Yoshida, when I started training under him, really changed my life and then forged me into the fighter that I became. And that first fight in 2008 that I took on 3 days notice, I took the guy down. I won by triangle in a minute. And so
Did the place go berserk?
I was off. The place went absolutely nuts. We were our first fight of the night.
Was the other guy confident? Like, what is this guy?
He was a really good Muay Thai fighter. And so when they told me I was fighting Eric Bartholomew, who's now a jiu-jitsu black belt as well, I thought I was going to get knocked out. And so we went out there, touched gloves. I threw like a jab and just shot on him. I didn't even give him a chance to get his game off, because if I'd tried to stand and trade with him, my striking was trash back then. He would have knocked me out. Yeah. And he's a very tough fighter. He has a bunch of fights as well. And like I said, he's a black belt now, and we're really good friends to this day. But it's actually on YouTube. You can see it. It's old, very old video, very terrible camera quality. One of my friends from the crowd recorded it. But yeah, 2008. And that was my first fight. I was off and running since then.
Wow.
And I taught my first class the next year in 2009. So I've been teaching since, you know, martial arts since 2000.
So how many fights have you actually had?
I have 12 fights now.
12 fights.
Yeah. 12 fights. I have 9 MMA, 2 Muay Thai, 1 boxing fight.
Nice. And so you became an instructor, and then so how long have you been doing just instructing?
Just instructing. I got my own kids program at a little family gym, Infinity Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Professor Dylan Dearborn gave me my own program. I started with kids back then, and I had a kids program. That started in 2014. And, man, kids, you want your work cut out for you. Try and teach a kids class. Adults, I'll tell them, hey, get your shoes on, go to run down 5 miles down the street and come back, and they'll do it. I'll tell kids to run across the room and back, and they'll start pinching each other, running into each other. This is absolute chaos. Yeah. So I had that kids program all the way from 2014 until after even the pandemic. And Joe Menino, the owner of Victory MMA, because I started training at Victory in 2013. Right after my first King of the Cage fight in Las Vegas. And then I had 2 fights for King of the Cage while training at Victory. One was the main event in Las Vegas. And so Joe knew a lot about me as a fighter. And then my coach at the time when I was at Victory, when I first started there, was Tony Palafox and John Alvarez. And so I would cover classes for them quite often. And Joe and I became close by that. He loved the way that I taught classes, very intuitive, like really kind of like, you know, making it fun but technical at the same time. And so Joe knew a lot about me. And so they were a big gym. There were some gyms that, like, you know, had the little Sopranos knock, and then we're just, you know, still training during the pandemic, like walking the back doors, give me the little Sopranos knock. They were putting paper over the windows and stuff. But, you know, Victory, we have over 1,000 members. They couldn't do that. So they were closed the entirety of the pandemic. Yeah. And reopened, I want to say, like July 2021.
Yeah.
And the Muay Thai coach there, Steve Fry, I trained with him when I was training from 2013 to 2020. He became the head Muay Thai coach, or one of the Muay Thai coaches there in like 2018. And he was John Alvarez's top fighter. And we were like, you know, we still are like brothers, but we would go back and forth because we were kind of like the top fighters on the Muay Thai team at the time when I was still fighting, and he was as well. And then his wife, he's a retired Navy, and his wife is still in the Navy, very high level position in the Navy, and she got transferred to Georgia. And that's where Steve Fry grew up. Yeah. And so, you know, he was a great Muay Thai coach. He didn't really, you know, at first he's like, well, I got my own Muay Thai program, blah, blah, blah. But it was such a great promotion she couldn't turn it down. They couldn't turn it down. They moved back to Georgia. They have a big house, and they're living the dream. And so Joe's like, hey, I have a position open. Steve Fry's got to move back to Georgia, and I have Mike Lemaire teaching classes here. And he said, you guys have a good relationship because you train together at Steel MMA. And I said, well, I want to bring Aaron in. And Mike Lemaire's like, I'd love Aaron. Like, let's go. And I'm like, Mike said he wants me to teach Muay Thai with him. He's like, yeah, so do I. And I'm like, done. And it was hard to leave that little family gym that I had, you know, that I was teaching at in Santee at Infinity Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because Dylan treated me great. Everybody out there is great people. But it was just an opportunity I couldn't say no to.
Right.
This huge fight team, training under world champion Mike Lemaire, and at this incredible facility at Victory. And it was hard to leave. You know, I'm very loyal, sometimes to a fault. But I had to make that decision, so I transferred to Victory MMA, and the rest is history. 4 years later, 3 years later, you know, we're taking off. We've had, you know, fighters fight for the Epic belt. Our Muay Thai team is just absolutely on a tear. We actually have 4 champions right now. And, you know, we have fighters coming up on the next Epic card. I've got some really good fighters. I've had Audric DeCastro is 3-0. He's probably going to be fighting for the 135 belt. You know, Khalil William DeVries had his last fight with a first-round knockout.
Crushed
against
it.
A super tough opponent in Juan Lopez. And so we have some really incredible up-and-coming fighters that I'm really excited about. John McCain, big John McCain.
Big John.
He had knee surgery after his last fight. That last camp for him, man, that was tough. We had like a couple weeks out, it was locking up on him. We didn't know if he was going to make it. He's like, I ain't pulling out. I don't care if I limp into the ring, coach. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to take this guy out. And trust me, when John McCain comes back, he's going to make big waves. We also have Chance Hammerly, who is an absolute killer as a striker, and his grappling is incredibly underrated. When he comes over, he's probably going to do 1-2 more Muay Thai fights. And when he comes over to Epic, that boy is going to run through some people. He destroys people with boxing gloves on.
Wow.
I'm almost a little bit nervous to see what he does to people when he puts on the small MMA gloves. Chance is going to be a killer. That's your next 170 champ. Mark my words.
Wow. Okay. So again, as I said in the beginning of this interview, this is you're a 2-hour interview all day with me, because I want to dig. I want to dig in forever.
Going,
But we got to end it. So let's end on this. I want to know, for you, being a coach of these fighters, give me how much it means to you to be a part of their lives, how much that motivates you. Let's finish with that. Go.
Oh, man, just I'm going to have a hard time with that one. As soon as you told me to explain that meeting, I started to get choked up a little bit, because it really does mean the absolute world to me. I love them just like I love my own son and my lady Jen. They mean the world to me. It's like being their father. And we go to war together. We go to battle together. They give me, every ounce of everything they have in their soul. They put it all on the line. And the only reason I ever really fought, JD, is because I know that I wanted to be a coach and own my own gym one day, or be a coach at a place like Victory. And I knew that I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that at the highest level and get everything out of my fighters and take them to the promised land and make them champions unless I had fought too. Correct. I never really enjoyed it, to be honest, but I knew I had to make that sacrifice to get that respect. When we're in the darkest place, we're in the toughest position, they're on their back against an absolute killer, and I'm screaming from them, hip escape, hip bump, bridge, don't quit, don't quit. They're in a rear naked choke, and I'm saying don't quit, and they look over at me and they're like, coach has fought before. I'm going to listen. I'm going to fight for him. But if they look at that coach and you never fought before, they're going to think, man, he doesn't know what I'm going through. And so to be honest, it means the absolute world. These fighters that put their trust in me, put it all on their line and give me their heart and soul, blood, sweat, maybe not tears, but emotion. It means the absolute world for me. It's arguably, outside of being a father, the greatest gift of my life. It means the world to me.
I love it, man.
I'm living my dream. I'm living my absolute dream, JD.
Come on, man. All right, what's your everyday? What's your main motivation? What's your why? Who do you see? Is there somebody you see that every day to just keep moving forward?
The man in the mirror. The man in the mirror, because, there's a lot of people in this world that have it tough. And I tell some of my fighters out there that got lost, I'm losing my motivation. I'm like, do you look in the mirror and realize this athletic ability that you were blessed with? You ever walk down, drive down the street and see someone like limping down the street, or people, that are in a car and they're immobile, or people in other parts of the world that are absolutely struggling, that don't have the financial ability that you were born into? If that doesn't motivate you, then I can't. Because there's people that will never get the chance just to live the opportunities that we have, not only in this world, in this incredible country, but in San Diego, California, with amazing promoters like Jason Stewart. They like give us platforms to shine on. How can that not motivate you? Every morning I wake up and I just like think, and I don't like to say blessed, it kind of entails divine intervention, but just the opportunities given to us, the beautiful life that we have. Every morning I wake up, I just kind of like pinch myself, and I'm very, very thankful and grateful that I'm able to walk this path and live this, what a lot of people just only dream about. And I don't take that for granted. That motivates me every day I get up to go out there and make a difference, not only for my fighters, but in the world. Like when you infect your demographic from a grassroots movement, and then you inspire people to go out, that's how you change the world. If you get overwhelmed by how can I change the world, what difference do I make? Make a difference where you are. And when you do that from a grassroots movement, and you inspire people, that's how we change the world. And that's kind of one of my biggest motivations. I'm going to change the world where I am with what I can do.
Absolutely love this. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Peet, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. So solid. Can't wait to break this down even further in the future. But ladies and gentlemen, if that doesn't motivate you to look in the mirror and freaking be grateful for what you have, and especially you've been given freaking gifts to do something with them, to make an impact with one person in your life, 2 people, 3 people, and you'll set a domino effect. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Peet, love you, brother.
Love you, Jason.
Epic 59 coming up Friday, November 22nd. Jason Stewart in the house. Harvey the Matchmaker. Let's go. Get your tickets. Real Deal Talk. That's a wrap.
Love you, brother.